Welcome to a Legendarium special about the years when medieval Europeans put animals on trial. In this episode, we will talk about how and why medieval people believed that animals should face charges just like human offenders. During the early Middle Ages, Europe had a Wild West-style government, with local warlords fighting for control of land with bands of armed men. By the 11th century, the map became more solidified and government took on a more sophisticated character. Successful warlords rediscovered the law during the 12th and 13th centuries. Courts began popping up in towns, and the universities produced a steady stream of lawyers who needed work to do. From this situation, something truly extraordinary happened. It seems that some lawyers relished the chance to defend an animal so they could come up with an ingenious defense and show off their skill. Additionally, the church taught that God granted man the power to rule over nature, and these trials enforced human authority over the beasts of the earth. Medieval literature is full of fables and stories where animals behave and act like humans would. Artists filled medieval manuscripts with images of birds, dogs, and rabbits wearing human clothes and taking part in human activities, including war. When one starts seeing animals as nearly human, it is no great leap to believe they have similar levels of reason and morality. In this way, medieval courts began putting animals on trial as early as 824. The first well-documented instance occurred in 1314. That year, the courts ordered a bull put to death after it escaped from its pen and attacked a passerby, killing him. However, it seems that pigs became the most common offenders. This is because they freely roamed the streets, known for eating anything. They would chew off ears and noses and sometimes kill children. In one infamous case, a pig ate the face and neck off the infant son of Jehan l'Enfant as he lay in his cradle. Even as hundreds of animal trials unfolded during the 14th century, people did not forget that they needed animals for food. On September 5th, 1379, two herds of pigs at a French monastery grew agitated, and 3 of their number attacked and killed a man named Perronat Muet. The court judged that since the pigs not directly involved in the murder squealed in anger, that meant they approved of the murder, and therefore both herds must be destroyed. Luckily for the prior, the Duke pardoned the pigs who merely looked on, though the prior allowed for the 3 murderous pigs to be burned at the stake. Most of these early animal trials took place in church courts. Governments remained relatively weak, and the church court's authority lay in their power of excommunication. This barred a person from communion and the church, which meant they would almost certainly go to hell when they died. Though they did not necessarily believe animals had souls, the courts believed God's judgment could lay heavily upon anything or even any place. Once a priest excommunicated an orchard because its fruits lured children away from Mass, and according to literature of the time, it lay barren until the Duchess of Burgundy arranged for the curse to be lifted. In time, these trials became more elaborate, just like those held for human criminals. In 1386 in Falaise, the local court convicted a pig of murdering an infant, and before its execution, the authorities dressed the pig in a coat, gloves, pair of drawers, and a human mask on her head, then chained her up before the festivities. The local government even paid 10 sous and 10 deniers to deliver the spectacle, even buying the hangman a new pair of gloves. Another more mild-mannered pig was hung in France during the year 1394 for having sacrilegiously eaten a consecrated wafer. Of course, all species of animal went on trial in medieval courts, some with more gentleness than others. To handle plagues of insects, the court ordered them to leave town not only by a certain day, but by an exact time of that day. processions led by priests marched around infested fields, ordering slugs to leave, or else rats would be sent a letter ordering them to stop infesting a certain house. And these sentences could be passed for any reason. A Swiss court once hung a rooster in 1474 for what they judged the unnatural crime of laying an egg. Executions of bulls, horses, eels, dogs, and sheep took place, and perhaps most curiously, a dolphin. Little is known about the dolphin trial, save that a local court tried and executed one in Marseille during the year 1596. Some of these executions could be truly cruel. When the great naturalist Leonard Thurnacer gave a moose to a Swiss town in the 1500s, the frightened townspeople left it an apple stuck full of broken needles to eat, which of course killed it. Animals that became victims of human sexual assault would be burned alive with their tormentors. In one case, the executioner cut off a mule's feet because it was known to kick and then set it on fire. Perhaps the strangest animal trial took place during the 1730s in a courtyard of a Paris printing shop. Young apprentices led by Nicolas Contat found their lives unbearable. They endured terrible food, long hours, and lived in an area with dozens of alley cats whose howls and meowing kept them up at night. Meanwhile, the printer's wife kept her own pet cat named Legris, which was treated better than the workers, so the apprentices chose to take revenge. One of them proved very good at mimicking the meowing of cats, and he did so near the master's bedroom. After several nights of this, the master and his wife ordered the apprentices to drive away the cats. Armed with broom handles and the bars of the press, they went after every cat they could find, beginning with Legris. They smashed Legris's spine with an iron bar and stashed it in a gutter, while the apprentices drove other cats across the rooftops, trapping those who tried to escape in well-placed sacks. Apprentices then staged a mock trial with guards, a confessor, and of course, an executioner. After declaring the animals guilty and giving last rites, they strung them up on a gallows. This episode would be remembered as the Great Cat Massacre. While animal trials faded after the 1700s, they did not wholly vanish. In 1916, an elephant named Mary murdered her trainer, and a Tennessee court hung her using a crane. This shows that the human appetite for justice knows no limits and sometimes makes no sense. That wraps things up for this episode of The Legendarium. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press like. If you want to see more, press subscribe. And if you've got anything to say, let me know in the comments section. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day.